My girlfriend told her friends I was the most repulsive man she'd ever let touch her, but my bank account made it almost worth enduring. So I emptied our joint account, canceled our vacation, and left her with nothing but screenshots of everything she'd said. Now her parents keep calling, begging me to take her back because she has nowhere to go. I, 33M, was with my girlfriend Alicia, 29F, for 3 years. We lived together in my condo, shared finances, and were planning a 2-week trip to Greece next month. I paid for most expenses since I earn considerably more. I own a successful consulting business while she works in marketing for a fashion brand. I'm not delusional about my looks. I'm 5'8", balding since my 20s, and carry some extra weight. Alicia, on the other hand, is gorgeous. The kind of woman who turns heads. When we met at a friend's dinner party, I couldn't believe she was interested in me. For 3 years, I thought we were building something real. 2 weeks ago, my entire reality shattered. I'd recently upgraded my home office with high-end audio equipment. I compose music as a hobby, so I splurged on studio-quality mics with incredible pickup. I installed one at my desk and another in the living room to test different room acoustics. That night, Alicia had a girls' night at our place while I was supposed to be at a client dinner. My meeting ended early, but not wanting to crash her evening, I texted that I'd grab drinks with colleagues instead. She sent back hearts and thank yous for giving her space. When I got home around midnight, the apartment was empty. They'd moved to a downtown bar. I went to my desk to check emails and noticed my audio recording software was still running. I'd accidentally left it on after testing my setup that morning. I almost deleted the file without listening, but something made me hesitate. I put on headphones and hit play. The first hour was typical: laughing, gossip, TV shows. Then I heard my name. "So how's it going with Mark?" one of her friends asked. "God, you guys," Alicia laughed, but not her warm laugh. Something colder. Sometimes I look at him while he's sleeping and can't believe I let him touch me. My stomach dropped. He's literally the most repulsive man I've ever let near me. The other night he tried to initiate, and I had to pretend I was on my period just to avoid it. Her friend asked the obvious. "Then why are you still with him? Are you kidding? Have you seen how he lives? The man has almost 7 figures in investments. We're going to Greece next month. First-class tickets, 5-star hotels. Do you know how good it feels to never worry about money? But is it worth it? It's almost worth enduring. I've got a system now. I let him have his way once a month, then I've got financial security and freedom the rest of the time. And he's so pathetically grateful for any attention, it's actually pretty easy." They laughed and moved on to discussing which clubs they'd hit and whether the guy Alicia had been flirting with at her gym would be out. I sat there for an hour after the recording ended, completely numb. 3 years. 3 fucking years I'd spent with this woman, thinking she saw something in me that others didn't. The next morning, I pretended everything was normal. Kissed her goodbye as she left for work. Told her I loved her. Watched her say it back with a smile that never reached her eyes. Then I got to work. First, I downloaded all our text conversations going back 3 years. Saved emails she'd sent me. Gathered photos she'd texted to make me feel special while I was traveling. I compiled dates, promises, conversations about our future, all communications we'd exchanged that showed the contrast between her public and private personas. Next, I moved my personal savings to a new account at a different bank. Called the travel agency and canceled our Greece trip, getting a partial refund deposited into my new account. Called my lawyer about the legal implications of emptying our joint account. He advised me to leave half, so I did. Exactly half, down to the penny. I packed her belongings neatly in suitcases and boxes. Not thrown or damaged, carefully folded, organized. This wasn't about destroying her things, but removing her from my life with surgical precision. Then I created a document. First page, transcript of what she'd said. Following pages, screenshots of texts where she'd professed her love, photos she'd sent, emails about our future home and our kids someday. The final pages were bank statements showing exactly how much she'd contributed to our joint finances versus how much I'd covered over 3 years. I printed this document, left it on the kitchen counter, and went to a hotel. At 6:30 p.m., my phone exploded. Calls, texts, voicemails. I ignored them all except for one text. I can explain. It wasn't what it sounded like. Please come home. I replied with one word, no. The next day, her father called. I've always respected him. Hard-working guy who did his best raising 3 daughters on a maintenance worker's salary. He was confused, upset, asked what happened. I emailed him the document. An hour later, he called back. The anger in his voice was gone. I didn't raise her to be this way, he said. I'm sorry. I know you didn't, I told him. This isn't on you. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, the tune has changed. Alicia's been kicked out of a friend's apartment for overstaying her welcome. Her parents' place is too small. Her sister's families are already squeezing in there. She can't afford an apartment on her own with her salary. Now her parents keep calling about how Alicia has learned her lesson, how she's truly sorry and realizes what she threw away, how she has nowhere to go and just needs another chance. It's a complete turnaround from her father's initial understanding. Clearly, family pressure and Alicia's desperate situation have pushed them to try anything to solve her housing problem. Her mother called yesterday saying, she made a mistake talking like that, but you can't throw away 3 years over words. They were just words. Just words. The careful calculation of how much of her body she had to share with me to access my money. The system she developed to minimize physical contact while maximizing financial gain. Just words. I finally answered one of Alicia's calls 3 days ago. She was sobbing, asking where she was supposed to go, what she was supposed to do now. I said, that sounds like a question for the guy at your gym you've been flirting with, and hung up. I've changed the locks, blocked her on social media, and I'm considering moving. The condo feels empty, but it's an honest empty, not filled with beautiful lies. Those weren't just words, they were a confession of who she really is. So no, I won't be taking her back. I won't be her ATM anymore. And every time I feel a moment of weakness, I replay that recording and remember exactly what I was to her, and what I refuse to be ever again. Update. Well, holy shit, wasn't expecting this post to blow up. The support from this sub has been incredible. Thanks for confirming I'm not crazy for walking away. It's been a month since this all went down. A lot has happened. After my last post, Alicia went into full panic mode. First came daily deliveries, flowers, handwritten letters, a playlist of our songs, each one returned or ignored. Then she ambushed me outside my office. Security had to escort her out when she refused to leave. Her parents kept calling until I blocked them too. Her dad's final voicemail hit me though. I know what she did was wrong, but she's my daughter. I have to try. I respect that. He's being a father. But I'm being a man with self-respect. She finally came by with a truck to collect her remaining belongings one weekend. I had everything boxed and ready in the garage, so we didn't have to interact. My brother supervised the pickup to make sure there were no issues. She tried to leave a letter which he politely but firmly refused to accept. Last weekend was the craziest part. I was having coffee with my sister when 3 of Alicia's friends, the same ones from that night, approached our table. They'd clearly planned this. Tina, the ringleader, sat down uninvited and started this bizarre half-apology. What Alicia said was awful, but we were all drinking, and you know how girls talk. She doesn't really feel that way. She loves you. My sister, who has zero filter, cut in. If that's how you talk about someone you love, I'd hate to hear what you say about people you dislike. Tina tried again. Look, Alicia made a mistake, but she's suffering. She had to move to her cousin's place 2 hours away. She commutes 4 hours daily now. She's miserable. I finally spoke up. No, she's suffering because she spent 3 years using me for financial security while being disgusted by me. The girls' night just revealed it. That's not fair, another friend said. She was just venting. My sister actually laughed. Venting is, my boyfriend leaves his socks on the floor. Not, I've devised a system to minimize physical contact while maximizing financial gain. That's not venting. That's a business plan. They left, but Tina's parting shot stuck with me. She didn't appreciate what she had until it was gone. Isn't that worth another chance? I've been asking myself, is realizing what you've lost enough to deserve another chance? My answer, no. Appreciation born from loss isn't love, it's regret. On the practical side, 1. Listed the condo for sale. The market's hot in my area, but even with multiple offers, closing will take a couple months. My real estate agent thinks we can close by month 3. 2. Expanded my consulting business, taking clients I'd turned down because Alicia complained about my travel schedule. Ironic that I limited my income for someone who found me repulsive. 3. Started therapy. Not because I'm falling apart, but because I want to understand why I missed the signs for so long. My therapist pointed out that my insecurities made me vulnerable to someone who seemed out of my league. 4. Reconnected with neglected friends. 2 admitted they'd had concerns about how Alicia treated me. Small digs, eye rolls when I spoke, constantly checking her phone during our conversations. Classic red flags I'd rationalized away. 5. Got a rescue puppy named Charlie. Best decision I've made in years. Last week, Alicia emailed me. She wrote about the night we met, details I'd forgotten about our conversation. She claimed that somewhere along the way, she'd lost sight of the man she initially fell for, letting materialism corrupt what had been real feelings. Maybe there's truth there, or maybe it's what she needs to believe now that she's facing consequences. Either way, it doesn't change anything. Her email ended with, "I miss your kindness most of all. The world feels colder without it." I didn't respond. Her warmth was always conditional on what I provided. My kindness deserves someone who values it regardless of my bank account. The recording still exists. I've thought about deleting it, but there's part of me that knows how easy it would be to forget the reality of what happened. How tempting it might be someday to remember only the good parts. So I keep it as insurance against my own selective memory. When people ask if I regret how things ended, I think about what my grandfather used to say. The truth hurts once. A lie hurts every time you remember it. 3 years of lies have been replaced with one painful truth. It hurt like hell, but at least it only hurt once. Final update. It's been 6 months since my last update. Wasn't planning to post again, but the DMs asking how things turned out convinced me to give you all some closure. Life has completely transformed. The condo finally sold after 3 months on the market. Got a great price even with the slow closing process. I used the proceeds to relocate to another city, a place Alicia had vetoed as not cosmopolitan enough for her. Turns out, I love the slower pace and proximity to nature. My business is thriving. I've hired 2 employees to handle the expanded client base. Charlie has grown from a clumsy puppy into a slightly less clumsy dog who still steals my socks. He's the perfect companion for weekend hikes and camping trips I'd put off because Alicia hated being dirty. I used some of the condo proceeds to pay off my parents' mortgage, something I'd wanted to do but had delayed because Alicia thought it was enabling their poor financial planning. Watching my dad tear up when I handed him the paperwork was one of the best moments of my life. Now for the Alicia update. About 3 months after my last post, I heard through mutual friends that she'd lost her marketing job in company-wide layoffs. Apparently, this happened shortly after our breakup, but she'd kept up appearances for weeks while desperately job hunting. With her expensive tastes and no financial cushion, she quickly ran into trouble. 2 months ago, she showed up at my parents' house looking for me. My too polite mother invited her in before calling to warn me. By the time I called back, Alicia had spent an hour crying to my parents about how much she regretted everything. My father, who rarely involves himself in my personal life, took the phone and said simply, "Son, I don't care how pretty she is. Don't you dare take her back." Coming from my always diplomatic dad, this was like a shouted warning from anyone else. Her cousin had finally asked her to move out after months of the long commute arrangement, and she'd returned to her parents' overcrowded home. Part of me felt sympathetic. A larger part remembered the cold calculation in her voice that night. The system she'd developed to endure my touch while enjoying my money. Last month, I ran into her at a coffee shop when I was back in town handling some final business paperwork. She looked different. No designer clothes, hair unstyled, circles under her eyes. She asked if we could talk. Against my better judgment, I agreed to 5 minutes. "I hit rock bottom," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Lost my job right after we split, but was too proud to tell anyone. Had to sell my designer stuff just to contribute to my parents' groceries." I said nothing. "I know you won't believe me, but I did love you. At the beginning. Then my friends started making comments about how I could do better, and I let their opinions matter more than my happiness. By the end, I'd convinced myself I was doing you a favor by staying. A favor? I finally spoke. I told myself you were lucky to have someone like me, so it balanced out that I was using your financial stability. It's messed up. I know that now. She paused, waiting for me to say something. When I didn't, she continued. My therapist says I have narcissistic tendencies from growing up poor and pretty. The only thing I had was my appearance, so I built my whole identity around it. Not an excuse, just, I'm trying to understand why I became someone who could hurt you like that. She finally looked up. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I understand what I lost. Not the lifestyle, you, your goodness, your support, the way you looked at me like I mattered for more than my face. I felt nothing but a dull ache where sharp pain used to be. I hope therapy helps you, I said, standing to leave. I really do. Are you happy? She asked suddenly. In your new city? I thought about my morning hikes with Charlie, the consulting team I was building, the dates I'd started going on with a veterinarian I'd met at the dog park, a woman who looked at me with genuine interest when I talked about my business, who laughed at my jokes without checking who else was listening. Yeah, I said. I am. She nodded, eyes glistening. You deserve better than what I gave you. For the first time in 9 months, we agreed on something. Walking away, I felt no triumph, no vindication. Just relief that the hooks she'd sunk into my self-worth had finally, completely worked themselves free. I don't hate Alicia anymore. I don't think about her much at all. She's just someone who taught me a painful but necessary lesson. It's better to be alone than to be with someone who makes you feel alone. The recording still exists, but I haven't listened to it in months. Maybe someday I'll delete it when the thought of her voice no longer holds any power over me. To everyone who followed this journey and offered support, thank you. Your messages helped more than you know. To those going through something similar, you're worth more than you think. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Sometimes the best revenge isn't emptying bank accounts or canceling vacations. It's rebuilding a life so good that what you lost seems like a bullet dodged rather than a treasure lost. That's what I've done. And from where I'm standing now, I wouldn't change a thing.